We're going to spend time now talking about fertility's impact on our everyday life. There's so many different aspects of how fertility touches our life. You have to remember there's the emotional, which everyone seems to be aware of, but then there's our mind and how we think about things, our body, how we feel and experience, our spiritual and our relational. And really to take all of these different things into consideration is really important, especially as we're exploring fertility. So let's go ahead and get started. This quote really captures what I just shared with you. So let's go ahead and look at it. I've worked all my life on the subject of awareness, whether it's awareness of the body, awareness of the mind, awareness of your emotions, awareness of your relationships, or awareness of your environment. I think the key to transforming your life is to be aware of who you are. So let's go ahead and get started and look further at the different aspects of how our life is touched by this fertility challenge. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is looking at making sense of the unexplainable, really demystifying emotions of fertility concerns. Now, we have so many different feelings that we're going to feel, and there's really no way of really pinpointing for one person what you're going to feel when. It is developing that awareness of when it is that you are going to start to feel different things and becoming aware of what those things are or when those things are coming about, and how to then, from your body telling you what you need. It's really quite interesting how we can do that. The next thing is talking about how do we reach our family dream. Now, this is a complicating factor because this is where our mind kind of starts to spiral. Do we want to go down this path or that path? And what about this new information or this treatment? Or what do I need to do about my numbers here? Or there's just so much information, and this can really be confusing. And this takes up a lot of mental energy and mental attention, and this can take away from your focus at work or focus in your relationships or overwhelm your discussions with your loved ones. So this is something to kind of keep in mind. Another aspect of our life that is touched is our love relationships. Now, some people go through fertility as an individual without that love relationship. Though I do have to say, even if you're going at it from a single point of view, you still have people that are close to you in your life. When it comes to love relationships, though, it's important to understand that there's a different process for the way that each person within the couple is going to understand and interpret and engage with that process of fertility treatment if it goes to that point. The hurts are different, the wanting to fix and help is different, and it's really important to find a way to stay connected. The next topic is one of my favorites. It's about how do we handle the world that doesn't get it? How do we stay graceful? I laugh because that is so hard to do, especially when you're feeling like you're having to either bite your tongue or you're feeling the tears are coming and you're holding them back. But I think it really helps to understand that our social relationships and how we interact with different people is changing. And this is really important for you to take some time to recognize and develop a plan for yourself as to how you want to address it. Coping is a really important topic, and how do you do self-care? Simplifying self-care during fertility treatments while you're trying to conceive is of the utmost importance. There's so many things that you have on your mind. There's so many things that are on your plate, and it's really important for you to take some time for you, some real time for you. Not just make-believe time or this one huge chunk of like 4 hours for you. It's finding the little parts of a day to gift you little special things, to take some time to notice some things that are really going to help you through. And it's understanding how to do that in an effective way that works in your life. Understanding how we cope with special events and holidays is really important too, because it's not just showing up for a family gathering anymore. Now there's questions, or we're anticipating. Our own anticipation is what's going to fuel some of that discomfort or anxiety. So it's again that awareness of what it is that's concerning you and how you want to approach it. None of these things are off limits because of the discussions that people have. Let's say you go to a wedding, you're sitting at a table with all these people who have children and you don't. Now you have to listen to these stories about children the entire time, and that's something you may or may not want to do, and that's okay. It's understanding what it is that's going on for you to understand what it is that you're going to need and how to advocate for yourself and speak up or accept or decline. It's all up to you. Looking at spirituality and our faith considerations, oh my goodness, this is a huge cultural piece here that is sometimes, we think it's medicine if we're going through fertility treatments, but it's not just medicine. Different religions have different views. Some people aren't religious, and maybe it's more of a spiritual connectedness to the whole process. So it's really paying attention to how is it that you're feeling in a spiritual way. Doesn't always seem to be clear cut. Sometimes it's feeling that you're not connected in the world. Sometimes it's feeling about your worthiness. That's a funny word for me to say, worthiness. And maybe you're feeling that your purpose is being challenged because it's not what things aren't happening the way that you wanted. These are all spiritual, existential type of questions, and they really need to be looked at. Again, cultures have a perspective on this, religions have a perspective on this, and your spiritual, just being a spiritual person, soulful person, is going to have some very clear views on that. That 2-week wait can be an extremely exhausting time frame. We live in an instant gratification world right now, and that waiting can be draining. It can be something where we question ourselves or we're wondering what's happening. And then we're also waiting for what's next. Do I have to brace myself for something, for an unsuccessful treatment cycle or an unsuccessful cycle? Or is it that I need to brace myself for what's next if I do conceive? You know, part of the difference too is men don't have the monthly reminder that a cycle didn't work. And this is where grief re-triggers. So if we're looking at how we're doing in a grief sense, this is when grief becomes complicated and complex because we are doing it on such a quick turnover time frame because every month is happening again and again. So this is something that we do need to take into consideration as we're looking at how are we doing as a whole person. Then there's life after treatment. Can you imagine that? Life after treatment can be so many different things. It could mean that you're deciding to end treatment but continue to pursue parenting. It could mean living child-free. It could mean that you had successful treatment and now you're caring for a child, or many children for that matter. The thing that you really want to pay attention to is that there is living after fertility treatment. It may not be what you always imagined or what you dreamed, because this whole process has not been part of that plan, that life plan, but it is something that you will have. You will have life and living after treatment. We've now concluded the Exploring Fertility complimentary series. Just to remind you that the Artful online courses offered by Chartreuse Center do not replace and are not intended to replace mental health counseling. However, they could be a great complement to that extended extra support that you'd be receiving from a counselor. Please note that the full programs that are offered within the school offer an expressive component, an art-based, mindful set of activities that are offered within each lesson. I look forward to seeing you further in the courses. You take care now.